Greetings and welcome to Your Positive Lens, where we hope to adjust your focus so you see that members of your local law enforcement community are not much different than you and me. I'm your host, Scott T., and this is episode 5, Giving Thanks. In today's episode, we're going to deviate from our norm and focus on giving thanks and appreciation to the entire law enforcement community in honor of Thanksgiving week. You see, members of the law enforcement community go about every day to protect members of the public, never knowing if they'll be returning home to their families. They do all this without any requests for recognition or accolades. And while it's true they are honored by their departments and receive awards and recognition internally, it's not something that is promoted like we see with our actors or athletes. Though I believe their work has a much greater impact on our lives and our communities than those in the entertainment industry. There is nothing about their daily activities that we can consider routine when engaging with the public. There is always a great deal of uncertainty for law enforcement, whether that be an everyday, as we call it, traffic stop, a burglary call, or simply just a call for help. There is always a level of risk and uncertainty that law enforcement officers have to go through. There is no standard 8 to 5 shift. There is no standard get all the holidays and weekends off. This is a career of passion with a focus on service. A service-first mentality that if they did not have it, they would not be able to be as successful as they are. They are patrolling some of the world's largest cities, while also looking after some of the smallest towns across the globe. Regardless of where you live, their call to duty is the same. It's to protect you and keep our streets and families safe. Thank you to all local law enforcement, local police officers, sheriff's officers who are patrolling our streets, and the state police and maintaining the safety of our highways. Most of us don't think about the uncertainties that exist when we're at work. We're not thinking about a perpetrator. We're not thinking about someone trying to harm another, where we might need to immediately jump into action. But that is what our officers do every day, without ever questioning it. They just do it. They sign up for this profession voluntarily. Yes, I know. But they do it to serve the public, to serve the community, to serve the citizens of the community, and they do this to keep your streets safe and your families safe from harm. There have been hundreds of Academy graduates this year from law enforcement departments across the globe. These individuals have joined an elite community, a law enforcement community, and they are now serving the citizens of your community and my community and others throughout the world. Thank you to all of the 2024 graduates. May you remain safe through your journey in law enforcement and be guided by the principles that brought you there. Thank you again for dedicating yourself to this career. I believe it is safe to say that many of us, myself included, when we see a member of the United States military in uniform, will say thank you for your service. And that is, without question, acceptable. The question I want to ask you, though, is why don't we pay this same respect to our members of the law enforcement community? Why is it when we see an officer in uniform, we don't acknowledge them many times? We just see them as another person, not wanting to interact with them. Why don't we say thank you? Thank you for your service. Thank you for protecting my community. Thank you for being a detention deputy and keeping an eye on the inmates who are in our local jails or state prisons. Thank you to the school resource officer who is looking after your children in school every day, trying to keep them safe and out of harm's way. Why don't we thank the probation officer who is meeting on a regular basis with those who have been released, trying to guide them and help them turn their life around so they too can become a contributing member of society? Why don't we thank them? Thank you, detention deputies, corrections officers, school resource officers, probation and parole officers. Thank you all for everything you do every day. Law enforcement officers come from many different departments and many different forms, and I am certain I will not capture everybody. But I'd like to say, we have police officers, sheriff's officers, deputy marshals, detention deputies, corrections officers, probation and parole officers, again, highway patrol, state police, dispatchers, individuals who are part of the police service aid and the auxiliary team. You have many individuals who fall into the core of the law enforcement community. Should we not be appreciative and thankful to all of them when they do all they can to keep us safe? Through September of 2024, the FBI statistics have indicated there have been 54 officers that have died feloniously. Feloniously killed. That is a 12.5% increase compared to the same time last year. Worse, we've actually seen an increase in the number of accidental deaths in law enforcement as well. This number for the same time period has increased by 14.3%. Staggering. I do not share these statistics with you to make you feel sad or pity about the loss of a law enforcement officer's life. It's really just a simple reminder that there are individuals out there who are trying to protect you and literally putting their life on the line to do so. And I'm willing to bet, in most cases, they don't even know who you are. You are a complete stranger to them, but they still show up, regardless, there to help you and protect you. Unfortunately, they are not a stranger to everybody. They could be the mom or dad to a little boy or little girl, a toddler, teenager, or an adult. They are the son or daughter of parents. It could be a grandparent themselves or a grandchild. They could be the aunt or uncle to a niece or nephew, or a niece or nephew themselves. They could be a brother or sister, or a best friend to somebody. They could even be your best friend. They could be your brother or your sister or your mom or your dad. Wouldn't you like someone just to say thank you to them when they see them? Maybe show them some level of appreciation for the daily sacrifices that they make trying to protect everyone in the community? Now I know some will point out to the fact that law enforcement officers make mistakes. You're right. They do, 100%. You know why? Because they're not infallible. But the work they do for us is invaluable. This is not a political statement, but if you look across the globe at the areas where law enforcement is losing respect, those communities are seeing crime at levels that are higher than they've ever wanted to see. The citizens in those communities are unhappy with the amount of crime they are seeing. So I am merely asking you, starting this week, to give thanks and appreciation to law enforcement officers that serve in your community. Those who serve on the streets, those who serve in the jails, those who serve in many of the roles that support law enforcement across the globe. A simple thank you can go miles. While many were not expecting me to incorporate a dispatcher in the definition of a law enforcement individual, these individuals take calls at the most critical time. Have you ever listened to some of these calls? If not, I highly recommend you do. You will come away impressed. These professionals are trying to decipher your needs while you are in a haste, upset, frantic, having trouble explaining the situation that you are facing. They are professionally trained to calm you down and better understand what you're saying so they can allocate the proper resources to you that are at their disposal and help you resolve the situation that you are in. Those mere seconds that are spent with them at the commencement of a call are vital, and these individuals do a phenomenal job with it. Thank you to all dispatchers across the globe. Remember, law enforcement officers are not much different than you and me. They just want to be able to go home to their families at the end of their shift, spend time with their families during the holidays, enjoy birthday parties, weddings, and anniversaries. Do all the same things that you want to do with your family and your loved ones. So just take a few moments out of your day to thank a member of the law enforcement community. After all, this is the week of Thanksgiving. So let's give thanks to those in the law enforcement community. Send a personal handwritten message to a local law enforcement department. We all know in the world of technology, nobody sends a personal handwritten note anymore. Can you imagine the impact this would have on the department in your community? That someone took the time to write a handwritten note, put a stamp on it, and send it to the department, thanking them for what they do every day? If you don't want to send a note, that's fine. Visit and give your appreciation on one of the social media pages of the law enforcement department in your area. Better yet, if you see an officer on the street, simply talk to the officer. Say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for protecting my city so I can go about enjoying my everyday life. A simple thank you means the world to everybody. So from here of us at the Your Positive Lens podcast, we thank all members of the law enforcement community, sworn and not sworn, for your selfless act to serve us. May you remain relentless in the face of challenges. Continue serving proudly and with respect, and be protected in all you do. Remember the reason you went into law enforcement. There was a guiding light that brought you there. And as an officer, I am certain you're going to face dark days. But remember that reason and let it serve as the beacon of light to get you through it. And when you come out on the other side, you'll be shining even brighter. And I cannot express again how much all of us here at the Your Positive Lens podcast appreciate all that you do. Thank you. Next week, we will get back to our standard episodes and continue our mission, where we hope to adjust your focus so you see that members of your local law enforcement community are not much different than you and me. Remember, you will always find places that will share negative law enforcement news stories. But here, at Your Positive Lens, you will only find your positive law enforcement news stories. Once again, I'm your host, Scott T. Thanks for listening, and we'll capture you on the next Your Positive Lens.